Hello, chaps and chapettes. Welcome to episode 7 of the Investalex podcast. Today, I'm joined by Wilson Parker. But first of all, some of you are watching, but some of you are not subscribing. So, it takes no effort whatsoever. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you don't miss another podcast, and let's get into it. So, Wilson, thank you very much for joining me today.
No problem. Thank you for having me down here.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for a bit of context for the listeners, mate, do you want to give a little background about yourself?
Yeah. So, obviously, I'm Wilson Parker. I'm based up in Bolton. If you can't already tell by my accent, it's quite broad. I'm a property investor, full-time into it. I do deal sourcing, mainly in buy-to-lets, and I also build up my own property portfolio through turnkey buy-to-lets, normally BMV, and also buy, refurbish, refinance properties. And we're looking at doing developments soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you say turnkey, there's some listeners may not understand that terminology. What does turnkey mean to you?
So a turnkey buy-to-let for me is something that needs a low amount of work in order to make it rentable. So, for example, one of the properties that I first ever bought, that was a turnkey buy-to-let. The only thing which I did for that was bought it, I cleaned it, EICR, gas safe, and then I rented it straight out. So it's normally a property which is less than £4,000 refurb in order to get it into a rentable condition, in my mind.
Yeah. Why is that so much of a benefit for an investor?
So the benefits for that is
as opposed to maybe a BRR where you can get it significantly below market value, do a substantial refurb,
get
it refinanced to a higher GDV, pull some money out. How does a turnkey buy-to-let look different, and why is that also good?
With the buy-to-lets that I buy, normally they're slightly below market value. They're not massively discounted, and I don't pride myself, shall we say, on getting a massive amount of below market value or discount on the property. It's more of a service that I provide in and around Greater Manchester. So the benefits of what I do are obviously it's the service that I offer, which is the main thing. It's slightly below market value, so you're buying with a bit of equity right from the get-go. And also it's that you're making money straight away. So within, let's say, a month, a couple of weeks of maybe doing a bit of a refurb, getting it on the market, moving the tenant in, it's around a month to 5 weeks, whereas a BRR is going to take you a few months. Mm-hmm. Plus also the buying options with a buy-to-let. So normally with a BRR, you want to use cash or you want to use a bridging loan, whereas a buy-to-let, it normally takes 25% of the actual deposit the purchase price of the house. So if it's £100,000, you need £25,000 deposit. So it gives a lot more people entry into the property investment
So your
market.
potential clientele is a lot bigger.
Yeah, that's
because of the low barrier to entry. So to me, it seems like a turnkey buy-to-let, as you said, it's got a time benefit because you're almost straight in, very minor works, painting, decorating, whatever it might need, furniture, and a cost benefit as well, whereby you're not doing a substantial refurb. It's just these minimal works and just the deposit and some legal fees.
That's it. So it's a lot more simple. Plus in terms of myself, the amount of volume that I can do is a lot more. So if you're managing the end-to-end processes, which is what I offer, so a hands-free service, I can do a lot more, buy-to-lets and a lot higher volume. If I'm managing lots of refurbs and doing lots of BRRs for investors, it makes it more difficult for myself to manage. So I like doing more volume, and buy-to-let certainly is the way for myself to increase the volume at relatively low hassle.
Yeah. And what's the typical month for you? How many sort of deals are you getting across the line?
So I've been full-time into property now since the start of the year. I was doing a deal every 6 weeks, shall we say, maybe a deal every other month, whereas now I'm doing 2 deals a month on average. Done 3 deals this month so far. So it is growing.
Just for reference, we're about halfway through August, so three deals this month.
Yeah, three deals this month I've passed on to investors. I've also signed up. So I work on a reservation fee first and then sign the investor up, then go and find them the property. So I've signed up also for 5 deals this month as well from other investors. So it's been a good month. And I've also secured a couple of my own properties, which I'm buying.
Yeah, well done. So, I want to touch on some bits that you're buying or have bought. So, I've just obviously got some notes here, but you're sitting on £1.5 million portfolio.
Yeah.
Where are these based? What's your typical property that you like to invest in.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to acquire this portfolio? Because you're mid-20s and a substantial.
Yeah, I'm 27 now.
Yeah, substantial portfolio for someone your age.
That's it. Yeah. So I've been investing in property. Obviously, I was doing it part time for a good few years since 2020. So I bought my first one just before COVID, and that was just a turnkey buy to let.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first ever property I bought. I had some savings from where I was working, but I was lucky enough. Well, unfortunately, my uncle passed away, but he left me a bit of money, enough to buy my first one cash. So I bought that one £112,000 cash instead of buying my own residential house. And that was a turnkey one. Bought slightly below market value, but not really intentionally below market value. It just looked good. So I bought that cash. The reason being, I was earning about £24,000 at the time, so just below the £25,000 threshold for a good interest rate mortgage.
Yep.
And then in September, my wage was increasing, so therefore I bought the property cash and then remortgaged once my wage went above 25,000. That then allowed me to refinance at the 120. So I gained £8,000 in equity just from buying the property and putting a tenant in it, and obviously 6 months down the line. And then I refinanced that and then went and bought one from auction, cash, and used the BRR model, and used finance that I could raise at the time to help me grow my own property portfolio over the past 4.5 years.
Did you raise finance, or was that through bridging?
Yeah, so I raised finance. So I bought it cash with the money that I refinanced from the first property.
Yeah.
Then I also raised some finance from a different family member.
Mm-hmm. On a loan agreement basis from them?
Yeah, so it's a bit weird with my family. We're all quite close-knit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And there wasn't actually a loan agreement in place. They could just see that I was getting into property investment and what I wanted to do. And they'd seen that I bought the first one, put a tenant in it, and obviously it was pretty simple, but that's the way I wanted to go, and I wanted to be into it full-time eventually. So there was, that property there, I actually had enough with the refinance to buy it myself, and then I loaned £20,000 off a different auntie in order to do the refurb.
Mm-hmm.
Then I refinanced it at the higher price, left some money in it, but that's kind of the business model that I set up, shall we say.
I mean, as a BRR, you do expect to leave some money in it. It's very rare to have a all money out deal or all money out plus deal.
This sort of pissed me off, that sort of term. Like, don't get me wrong, you can do them, you can get them, but not normally with a single let property.
Mm.
So like with a BRR to a single let, so one tenant with a normal AST in place, they're few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
They're few and far between. And if you're going to be looking for them all the time, you're going to spend so much time actually looking for the property, you're never going to buy something.
Yeah, true.
So
you'll completely lose track of other potential investments that you could be working on and securing, rather than just getting this all money out deal.
That's it, yeah. And I mean,
unless it's BRR to service accommodation, potentially.
Yeah.
Where like a service accommodation manager takes care of it for you. So your yields are massively better than a single let, but they are few and far between.
That's it. And there's a lot of people that actually are a lot of clients, potential clients, that come to me and say, "Oh, can you find me this below market value, all money out BRR deal?" And I'm like, no, I avoid those sort of clients just because I know how long it would take to find one. And if I do find one, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to buy it myself.
Yeah.
So I work on a return on investment percentage. I have sourced a few BRRs before, but normally, as I said, and I market myself for just buy to lets, and that's really what I want to be doing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, your social media and your proof certainly shows that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, you're very consistent on social media. It's more so than most people. And one thing I want to touch on actually is your goals. Yeah. So you recently posted a video about your goals.
Oh, you've been on my Instagram.
I've been stalking you, mate. I've been stalking you.
Yeah.
I've written them down.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about them.
Do you know what? I was wondering if you was going to ask me that question, and I have to remember exactly what my goals
Don't
was.
worry, I've written it down.
I've written
it down. So the goal is, the video was about your 10-year goals.
Yeah. Just one thing, I have one regret about that video.
Okay, go on.
As well, then which I look back on. I don't think I've set my goals high enough.
Jesus Christ. Oh, okay, well, I
honestly don't think I have. I think that I can achieve that in 5 years. That's what I'm. Do you know, when I was watching it back and when I put my goals together, I was thinking that's a lot, but then I thought, do you know what, I can certainly do that in 5 years. I'd like to think so anyway. But yeah.
Well, I was going to open up and say, like, they're very, very aspirational. Yeah. And they still are.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Even on a 10-year time scale, I think they're aspirational.
Yeah,
but 5 years,
I agree.
Yeah, you'll be blowing the roof off. But yeah, and you actually also said if you speak publicly about your goals, there's been basically studies that evidence that you're more likely to achieve them. So by publicly making a video about it, it almost holds yourself accountable. And
that's exactly why I did it.
It's social proof that, okay, it's out there. I've got to go and do this now.
Yeah, that is exactly why I did it. I thought to myself, I can just keep these on my computer. I can put them as like a background or something to keep looking at. But if I put them on social media and it's there, I'm probably not going to delete any videos or anything. So it's going to be there forever. So therefore I can look back in 10 years time and hopefully I've achieved them. That's the plan anyway. So just almost
you'll be scrolling quite a long way to get back down to that video.
The rate of videos I put out. Yeah,
I mean, I write mine down twice a day.
Yeah.
Some days are busy and I don't, but like generally I'll try and write them down twice a day. But you're right. I'm the only one that has eyes on it. I might tell like a few people, but
it'd be interesting to know your goals then.
Maybe I'll tell you after this. So yeah, your goals. I want to read them out. So 15 deals a month.
Yeah.
Bear in mind you're on 3 now.
Yeah.
Own an estate agency business.
Mm-hmm.
So the sourcing is a package. So you manage the complete letting side of things.
Yeah.
Increase your renovation business to a turnover of £2 million.
Yeah.
I imagine per year, not per month.
Per year. That was per year at the time. Yeah, I wish it was £2 million per month. That'd be good.
And own a £5 million portfolio. So you're already on 1.5.
Yeah.
So raising that to 5.
Yeah, that's why I think that with property as well, things snowball, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And once you actually get the ball rolling, it seems to pick up momentum and get not easier, but you learn the model, you meet more people, you can raise more finance, you get access to better deals. So that's why I think that one is certainly achievable within 5 years.
Yep.
And I think the other ones as well, I think just the way that the business is progressing, some of the deals that I'm getting access to and buying myself, I just think they're more than certainly 10 years, but I'd like to set them within 5 years and see what I can do. But
good. I mean, understanding your own position and being like self-aware is so important, I think. So if you've already reevaluated that and thought, actually 10 years is probably not, I don't know, it's probably not high enough.
Yeah.
Then to achieve the same goals in 5 years, you've already reevaluated, you already thought about this yourself. So a good level of self-awareness there, I think, is impressive.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, as I've mentioned, it is important to set goals.
Yep.
To be honest, I don't write them down twice a day. I think that's, again, some sort of percentage increase of chance of hitting it by writing them down twice a day. And I don't do that. But they're certainly my 10-year goals. And I think that
5 year.
5 year. Yeah, 5 year. Yeah,
Come on,
5
mate.
year. Yeah,
5
that's
years.
5 years. Maybe we'll be back here now. I've said it twice now on camera, so we'll have to see.
Yeah. Just a question really about maybe a philosophical one, but I feel like a lot of people have like a why. They call it a why.
Yeah.
Like, why do you do the things you do?
Yeah.
Why you're an investor? What is your why?
So I honestly, just to reiterate that, I think that having a why is probably one of, if not the most important aspect of trying to achieve something.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have a why, and a really good why, not like just some sort of made up bullshit, then you'll lose motivation eventually. So you'll get a big burst of motivation. You'll then not have a good reason why. And then as soon as your motivation kind of wanes, then you'll just pack it in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a really good reason why, then even when your motivation kind of dissipates, you'll still have discipline and you'll still want to achieve your goals. That's what I've found anyway. There's a lot of people that get into property and they're in it for like 2 months, something like that, 3 months sometimes, and then they don't see instant gratification. That's it. Then they're gone. You don't see them. So my reason why is, so my uncle who left me that money to help me buy my first house cash, he did quite well for himself.
Mm.
He lived quite not a lavish lifestyle, but it was very, very comfortable. He owned nightclubs. He had a casino. He was quite well respected, in and around where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
So my reason why is, I feel as though because I've had that, say, inheritance money, I always think that people will look down at me and say, oh, you've had a gift, that a lot of people don't have. So my reason why is so that I can do more, and if not, well, can achieve more than him in his lifetime when he obviously passed away. He was 85, so he wasn't young, but that's my reason
almost
why.
Following his footsteps and not just taking that inheritance to buy a brand new Merc.
That's it,
but using it to up that level of income and get that 100k or whatever it was and turn it into whatever, like a brand new business, which you have done, and make the most of it, not just splash it away. And I think, I mean, well, speaking for yourself really here, but I'm sure your uncle would be looking down and absolutely love what you're doing with his money.
That. Yeah, that's it. That's what I want. And it's almost like there's not a lot of people that have said to me like, oh, you're only doing what you're doing because you've had this inheritance. But that's almost kind of what I've got in my mind, is in that everyone's looking at me thinking, oh, you're only doing so well because you've got an inheritance. And it just fuels my fire more.
Mm.
You know, it just makes me want to do a lot better, as in have bigger things, have better things, create a lifestyle for my family whenever I have kids that's going to be, you know, really, really good. And it's that is my reason why. And
well, I think you'd still be on your way to doing what you do in property, but you might just be a few years behind.
That's it.
If you didn't have the inheritance. So
that's it.
The fact you've just had a leg up at the start of your journey, I feel like you'd still be on the same path, just maybe a slightly shallower.
No, I agree 100%. I think that all the deal sourcing, I think I'd still have this business model now, and I think I know I always wanted to have my own business, and I always knew we wanted to be in property. Just like the idea of owning lots of properties. When people used to say to me when I was younger, oh, I own like 5 houses, I used to think, fucking hell, this guy's got 5 houses. I mean, you never know how much money someone's got, but I just used to like the idea of that. That's what initially got me really interested in it. So
I mean, I can touch on that as well. I mean, property is mental, right? So there's, well, as far as I'm aware, you can prove me wrong, but there's no real other industry or sector or investment where you can leverage the bank's money fourfold to acquire an asset. Stocks and shares. You buy one stock or one share at a price, goes up or down. Hopefully it goes up, right?
Yeah.
Property, you buy a quarter of a house, but you get the full house, and that still goes up.
That's it. You get all the benefit of the equity, as in the appreciation that goes up. That's all yours.
Yeah.
Even though the banks give you 75%. There's so many different strategies within property to use.
It's mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. There's at least 10, that you can come up with.
There's hundreds. Honestly,
that's it. That is it. So that's why I like it, and I always knew I wanted to be full time into it, have my own business, and just try and accelerate it from there. Really.
Yeah. So look into the future. Then, I mean, what does success look like to you? Is there a point where you stop?
No.
Or what does success look like to you? Whether it's personal, family, business, whatever.
Yeah, so I think if you're business minded, you always have goals, and then you achieve those goals. Like, say, for example, 12 months ago when I was working for someone, my goal was to work for myself.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the first biggest goals. And I remember when I actually left my job, I thought to myself, oh, like, you have a sense of satisfaction, but almost instantly or very, very quickly, it kind of dissipates and it goes away, and you've already set the next goals. So it's difficult to.
I mean, when I sold my first deal, I was like, okay, great.
That's it. Don't you get that overwhelming feeling for a bit, and then you're on to the next. You're on to the next. You're on to the next.
But goals are set to be achieved.
Yeah.
And then you realign, reevaluate, and set new goals. So
that's it.
There's always going to be that wanting more or what's next factor.
That's it. So my idea of success is obviously to achieve those goals, but there's absolutely no doubt that once I've achieved them, and I'm confident that I will do, and I think you've got to have the confidence or else you won't achieve them, that then I'll just set another set of goals. So I'm always wanting, not necessarily more money, and I don't think that money is a motivator when you're a businessman. I know it sounds really strange that you initially get into it for the money, because you think, God, it'd be good to have more money and have more better cars, bigger house and everything that comes with it. But
a lot of people say they don't care about that, but they do.
Yeah. But I do care about it.
I think it's more time.
Yeah, definitely. But the problem is, as well with that, as in, I want more time and I want more money, 100%.
Yeah.
But the way that it's like, I thought that working for myself would give me more time to do what I wanted to, but it just works out in the opposite. I just find more things to do, to try and improve the business. So I end up with more flexible time, but less time overall. Because even when I go on holiday, I've just been on holiday recently, and you can't really go on holiday and just switch your phone off. And even if you do switch it off, you think, shit, fucking hell, when I get home, I'm going to have loads to do.
I feel like there's something to do.
That's what I mean. So the time aspect of it is, you get more flexible time, but I also spend more time doing what I want to do, which is what I enjoy, is in working in the business. And granted, I do want more money. Be mint to have shitloads of money, which is what I want. But I also think as a property investor, you always feel skint. I know it sounds weird that, because you can be sourcing, say, 2 or 3 deals a month. But that money that comes in, I'm already looking for a property to put it into.
Yeah.
And
it just goes on marketing, or it goes on new software, or it just goes.
So I spend on marketing. The money that seems to come in from the sourcing business, I live and do you know what I mean, within my means. But the rest of it just gets, at the minute, invested back in the business. Like more marketing budget. I want to try different marketing strategies. Just bought 2 houses last week. So all the money that I've got in kind of now, speaking to a couple of my clients, having a laugh, saying I'm flat broke at the minute because all my money's just gone on these houses. But then
it's all tied up.
Yeah, it's all tied up. But then in 6 months, I'll get that money back and it'll be gone elsewhere. I might treat myself to something, but then it'll be into a bigger project. I'll raise more finance from elsewhere. So I'm always feeling as though I'm living within my means, and the projects just get not necessarily bigger, but just more of them at the minute.
So are you raising finance then? Is this again through your family, your close knit family, or elsewhere?
Yeah, so still I speak to investors. Normally I source obviously buy to lets, but that also allows me access sometimes to people who have money and that are willing to lend me money. So for example,
is this again on a loan agreement basis, or a joint venture?
Yeah, so the property that I'm buying at the minute, one of them is a property trade. So I'm buying that. I could have used either a bridging loan or raise the full £120,000, £125,000 purchase price. I had the option to, but I spoke to my mortgage broker, and I can get it's like a non-early redemption charge mortgage to buy it, put it on the market, and the total fees are about 3.5 for the product, and actually selling it almost straight away. So putting in a 25% deposit and just paying that £3,500 fee, once I sell it, and then obviously paying the mortgage off, then it was cheaper. It was cheaper than raising finance from somebody else. Say if I was to raise 80 grand at 10% for the year, that'd be at 8 grand. Whereas this for the mortgage is just it's just 3.5 grand to actually loan their money and then give it back.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, totally. So this trade, where have you secured this property from? Is it an auction or?
No, so this was just pure pot luck. Not going to lie, just pure pot luck. It was.
Sometimes that happens,
Yeah. So obviously this is the thing about telling people you're actually in property investment though, because it does come with more luck. So the more people you tell, the more luck you seem to get.
Yeah.
So one of my business partners actually in the renovations company that I've got, so we do building maintenance, refurbishments, all that sort of stuff. He's an aircon engineer by trade, and he was doing an aircon install on someone's house. And anyway, this woman mentioned to him, I don't know how they got talking about property investment, but this woman mentioned to him that she had a rental that she was looking to get rid of, and it was tenanted. So I was like, I'll go and take a look. Went and viewed it. Tenant's paying $850 a month, but wants to move out. She's on a rolling contract. So I said, I'll buy it from her for 125. She said, just give me what I paid for it 15 years ago.
Really?
So yeah, so she was
He's lucky.
Yeah. So just give me 125. I was like, right, I'll pay you 125,000.
Yeah.
The tenant's moving out. It's worth a minimum 165, 175.
Is the current owner issuing Section 21?
So I'll do that.
You'll do
that. Yeah. Because
it's a rolling contract.
That's it. A rolling contract.
That's all right.
And the actual tenant, I'm not a massive fan of moving tenants out when they don't want to move out, but she wants to move out herself. The rent's just a bit too high for her.
I mean, morally, that's fine.
Yeah, that's it. And I'll also find her somewhere which is probably a bit more suitable for her, as in I think she's got 2 or 3 kids. She could do with a 3-bed around the 750 mark, not 850. So she's happy to move out. I'll try and find her somewhere else, put it on the market, and then I've had 3 estate agents value it between 165 and 175.
Great. Okay. So a serious uplift there.
Yeah, that's and doing nothing. I'll probably decorate the property just because when people go and view it, it's better to look fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's
just a new look of paint.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the front of the property as well, but curb appeal, I mean, as in like standing outside.
Yeah, that's it.
First impressions of what the property looks like can have a massive impact for new homeowners.
Yeah, that's it. Just so we'll clean it up.
Yeah.
Make it look a bit more appealing. Just basically give the potential buyer less when they go in the property, they're going to be looking, there's a few marks here and there. It kind of reduces the appeal of the property, as you've mentioned. So just giving it decorate, clean it up, put it on the market, hopefully get minimum 165. And obviously there's fees, but there's like 35, 40,000 pounds profit there just from buying.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the profit there? About 35,
yeah,
40?
40. Yeah. So that's minus in the 3,000 pounds, probably a couple of mortgage payments as well. And it depends on obviously what it sells for, but minimum 35.
And a bit of tax in there as well, but you saw that yourself.
Yeah, that's the thing is with the tax as well. It's like people say to me, "Oh, why don't you factor in tax on your rental income or the profit?" And it's like, well, you could.
You're not a tax advisor.
I'm not a tax advisor by any stretch.
Yeah,
but it depends on your accounts, as in you will only get taxed on certain things. You know, obviously on your profits. But it's what do you do with your profits from that property? Do you put it into something else? Do you know, there's ways and means not around it, but of being more tax efficient. So it's about structuring your business, having a good accountant.
You do offer the full service from start to finish of acquiring, renovating, selling, or refinancing the property, but you don't give tax advice. You're not an accountant.
Yeah,
that's up to the investor to sort themselves. So you can put them in touch with your accountant. You're a tax advisor, great.
Yeah.
But that side of things is outside the realms of property investment.
That's it. Yeah,
in terms of the service.
Mm-hmm. So that's that property. And then I'm also buying, this was a weird story, to be honest. Back in May 2023, and I obviously remember it because I put the letter through the door in like a bright yellow envelope.
Yep.
I think it was yellow or red paper inside. And obviously I had the date on, put it through the door, certainly an empty house, put it into the porch, like the porch bit. And like there was no front door really on it. So I just threw it in thinking nothing of it. Anyway, about last week, 10 days ago, something like that, the woman rang me up saying, I've seen your letter come through the door. I didn't even know I owned the property. So basically her ex-husband, she used to be married to obviously her husband back 30 years ago, and they lived in that house together. Anyway, they split up 30 years ago. She moved out elsewhere. I think she lived in Germany for a bit, but he never took her off the title deeds. So he's passed away, and it turns out she owns the house now. So she just wants rid of it.
So this house has been derelict?
This house has been derelict, yeah.
For 30 years?
No, so her ex-husband, his son used to live there for a bit, yeah, up until about 5 years ago, and then he just left the property. So it was derelict for about 5 years. Yeah. So she rang me up. She said, "Look, do you still want to buy it?" I was like, "Yeah, how much are you looking for it?" "It's minimum worth 140. Minimum worth 140. And she's like, "Look, that'd be great if I could take 80,000 for it. It needs 15,000-20,000 pounds refurb. It's still in a half decent condition.
Just needs some modernisation,
That's it, modernisation, yeah. It's still in all right nick, but we've quoted 20,000 pounds roughly for the refurb, and we've secured it at 74. So we're probably all in for 94 plus your fees and that. Let's call it 100,000, and then up to minimum 140,000 pounds.
Is this the second one that you mentioned?
This is the second one that I'm buying now as well.
What are you going to do with this? Just flip straight away?
Flip straight away. Profit. So I'm buying it cash, and then again, this is talking about what you do. One of my other business partners in the renovations company, his dad has took early retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking for, he's good on the tools, and obviously he's got a bit of pension money.
Mm-hmm.
So he's wanting to pay for the renovation and also do the renovation with his time. So we've worked out a deal. I'll buy it. He'll pay for the renovation. He'll obviously his labour as well, and then we'll split the profits accordingly. It's about 70-30 to me with the amount of money that I'm putting in.
Yeah.
And the amount of money and time that he's putting in. Roughly.
And then just selling on the open market.
Selling on the open market. And then I've also opened up another investor avenue because he's getting more money next year. He's taking his pension in October, some of it, and then he gets more money next year due to whatever his tax advisors advised him. So therefore, go and buy more properties as well. So
yeah. So then, are you going to carry on that sort of same strategy whereby you buy, he pays for the refurb, and then
that's
you split
probably what we're going to do. Yeah, that's probably what we're going to do. But then I'm also looking at buying.
So it saves you a bit of cost, which is great,
mm-hmm.
but it just opens up. So because you're doing the same deal on paper, but you're reducing your total cost by the entire refurb,
mm-hmm.
and still selling it on for a profit or whatever. That's a great little situation you got yourself there.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. And he'll manage the refurb as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we'll use our refurb company, but he'll pay for all the materials. He's going to be coming working for us and doing it 3 to 5 days a week. We've agreed a rate with him, so he's just going to do it all, pay for it himself, and then split the profits. And then I put an offer in on a property today. £78,000 purchase price, 135 done up value. Just waiting for that one, but I'll raise some finance for that.
Yeah.
The figures work with raising finance and also using a bridging loan if I need to.
I think raising, in terms of repayments, like interest payments, it's definitely preferable to raise the finance yourself. Of course. Yeah, and there's much less risk for you if you don't repay on time. Obviously, I'm sure you will, but bridging companies will come for your head.
But you got shit. You shit yourself if you're on the wrong end of a bridge. That's one thing that's like. That's why bridging doesn't work for a lot of deals.
Mm-hmm. It works a lot better for a BRR.
Yeah.
Because you're not in abeyance. You're not waiting for the property to sell at the end of it.
Yeah.
How long does it take to refinance a property and get that cash from that? Like a month?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can factor that into your 12-month term with a bridge.
Yeah.
But it could be on the market and trying to be sold for, you hope it's 2 to 3 months, but it could be.
And you're not making any money, obviously, from the rental income.
Yeah, no one.
Yeah. But the only thing with bridging is as well, even if you use it correctly, which a lot of people do, but it's awful, like the fees and just the actual money itself is just.
Well, you're looking at ideally less than 1% per month.
Yeah, ideally, yeah.
Arrangement fees 1 to 2%.
Mm-hmm.
Legal fees are generally slightly higher as well with a bridge.
Yeah,
because there's another party involved.
Yeah.
It just slowly racks up, which then squashes your profit at the end, which is not what anyone wants, mate. But
yeah, that's it.
If you could, it definitely works for the right deal because you basically just use a fraction of the cost of the amount of funds that you have to if you're buying all cash. So it definitely does work for some.
I think if you've got a few deals on the go as well, that's when it kind of helps because you might need a bit of your own money left, right, and centre. Whereas if you've just got one deal, maybe you're starting out, you got a bit of cash, for example. That probably makes, obviously, you want more profits for yourself. You've only got the one deal that you're looking at. You're going to be doing it yourself. That probably makes more sense to obviously use your own cash if you can do.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to really invest and scale quite quickly, then yeah.
And you can, if you do run out of funds, you can always get development finance or emergency bridging loan.
Yeah.
Those fees will be extortionate.
Yeah.
But it might be the only option if you do run out of funds or raise finance, like you said.
That's it. And one thing which I'm looking at as well at the minute, I've built up equity in my property portfolio over the past however many years, and I've got quite a lot of equity sat there in different properties that I own. So I'm looking at potentially second charge mortgages, second charge bridges that I can use. Obviously, I'm looking at raising investor finance. So I'm going to be doing, I don't really on social media market myself for investor finance at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I've not really tried it, and I don't even do any advertisements for it. It kind of the finance that I've raised has either come through clients that I've sourced to buy to let for, or through just people that I know that have got a bit of money and I've used it and give it them back. So I think I'm going to be doing a bit more of marketing, shall we say, whether it's through paid ads or social media, to actually raise finance. Just because I've got a few deals coming at me which I'm looking at, and I think that would make sense.
Suit for some raised finance, yeah.
And I want to
that's exactly what that's basically what I do.
buy more. I've been looking at yours.
Yeah.
Yours is all over like
raising finance.
Yeah, why don't you don't keep it in there and give it to fucking me?
Yeah. Well, I'll give
it's true though. It works out miles better for the actual person who's lending you the money. It works out better for you. It's win-win, especially if it's going into a good deal. I was speaking to I've raised £30,000 for one of these properties that I'll be using. I'll probably just put it into the one that I'm doing the trade for, so then it's only 10,000 of my own money. But he was speaking to me on the phone, and he said, I've agreed with him as well because it's such a good deal that I'll give it him back in 9 months. I could have had it over 12, but I thought, do you know what? He's got quite a bit of money. I'll give it him back over 9 months. But I'm only taking the actual money towards the end of this year once the property completes, once I actually need it.
Are you going to say, let's say you're a very generous man and you set just for my maths, you set the interest rates at 12% a year.
Yeah.
Probably won't go that high anyway. Are you going to pro-rata it backwards to 9 months so that it's 9%? Or are you going to stick, are you going to remain at the agreed percentage?
Remain at the agreed percentage?
Yeah, for 9 months.
For the 9 months.
So he might even be getting above 1% a month.
That's it. Yeah. So we've agreed. Yeah. So initially it's for the 9 months agreement, which we've agreed for 9 months. In 9 months' time, he'll get all of his initial investment back plus
principal
10%.
Loan,
yeah, his principal loan plus 10%.
Yep.
So that's that's obviously for 9 months. That's not even per annum. So that's above if you was to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
As you've said, yeah. So he couldn't believe it. He was like, "You're having me on." I was like, "I'm not. This is true. As in, I've got a deal here. I'm looking at." He had a quick skim through it. He was like, "Yeah,
numbers look good." Yeah,
yeah, numbers look good.
I always say that to investors as well. So, look, if you send me the principal loan to a nominated bank account, we agree an interest rate over a 12-month term.
Yeah.
If the project finishes early, say 9 months,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I'll just repay you.
Yeah.
Your principal loan plus your interest rate, which is agreed early.
Mm-hmm.
So you have got now that percentage back 3 months earlier.
Yeah.
So, we talk about like an annualized return on investment. That does bump it up quite significantly by another quarter.
And what you'll find is that a lot of these investors that loan you money, they don't need the money right away. So they'll just tend to keep it with you.
Yeah.
Do you know, and then they'll say, "I'll roll it up for the following." Obviously, you'll pay them the interest, and then they'll say, "I'll just reinvest it again."
Yeah.
And
that's ideal, isn't it?
Yeah, that is it.
Like repeat customers in a way, basically.
Yeah, and the 30,000 that you get as a loan in 12 months' time, in 18, well, normally it's more than 12, but let's say 2 years, that 30,000 could be elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you've got enough to pay the investor back on when you say you're going to pay him back, plus his interest, that's absolutely fine. Do you know, I even offered him a first charge on a different property, the second one that I mentioned, but he was like, "No, it's all right. I've put in a personal guarantee for myself," which he's more than happy with. And the chances are, I've known him for a very long time. He's just had his money in bonds doing 4.1%. I've just offered him per year. Mm-hmm. I've offered him 10% over 9 months, which has doubled what he'll be making in 9 months. Do you know what I mean? So he's astounded.
In a short time frame as well.
In a short time frame as well. So
I mean, my mate has got X amount of cash in a high interest savings account. Getting him, I think he said it was 4.3% for the year. I told him about mate, I'll give you 10, and he literally nearly fell off his chair.
Yeah,
mate.
You can't believe it.
Oh my God, I
can't believe 10%.
So as soon as that comes out, he's going to give me some cash.
Yeah, good man.
So yeah, just I've got a note here about an interesting strategy. The concept is so simple.
Think I know what you're going to say.
You think I'm not going to say? Yeah, well, you've given me advice on it, so I hope you know. The concept is very simple.
Yeah.
I'd say the hardest thing about... the strategy is assisted sales.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want to dive into, give the listeners a bit of a taste as to what an assisted sale is?
So an assisted sale is basically... It normally works... Well, it has to work on something you can add value to. So a property that needs a refurbishment, for example. And it normally works in a position where the seller either doesn't have the money it normally doesn't have the money and doesn't necessarily need to sell the property instantly. So say, for example, a property is on the market for £200,000, and it needs, let's say, a £20,000 investment. But once you've done the £20,000, refurbishment, it's going to be worth £250,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that means that us, or myself as the property investor, we pay for the £20,000 refurbishment and then agree what basically the split of the money will be once the property sells at £250,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically giving the owner of a property, obviously you need time, so let's say it takes 3 months to refurb the property, but they will be getting more money just later down the line, and you can afford to do that because you don't need to buy the property, so you never own it.
So you save on stamp duty.
You save on stamp duty.
You don't technically own it at all.
Yeah, that's it.
You'll have to pay for selling. Well, this is the thing, because
it's flexible. It's as flexible as you want. It's very simple, and once people actually understand what it is, it's like, oh yeah, dead simple that. Mm-hmm. But it's like people, I think, especially newcomers to property investment, don't understand how it works at all. Yeah.
So let's assume you're buying the property 200k. You've got to put 20k into it to refurb it, uplift the value to 250k. So we're very, very crude gross numbers, but you make a 30k profit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not including fees, whatever. 30k profit. But with an assisted sale, you're only putting in 20. So 30k of, I can't even do the maths. That's probably like 15% return on investment. Okay?
Yeah.
Can't do the maths. Anyway. So, but with an assisted sale, you're putting 20k in.
Yeah.
And you're taking 30k profit.
Yeah.
So you're making 150% return on investment.
Yeah, that's
so that because you're making so much money out of one deal by putting very little in, you can then offer certain financial incentives to the seller.
Yeah.
So, for example, if it's a flat and there's no tenant in there, but they're paying service charges monthly or quarterly or whatever. You can just say, look, for the last 6 months, how much have you paid service charge? Let's say £1,000. Okay. At the end, I'll reimburse you your service charge costs, or I will pay for your legal fees, or I will pay for your selling costs, or whatever.
Yeah. So the property, I suppose an example is the one that I've done. I did it towards the start of this year. Went to a BNI meeting, and the guy, he was half doing the property himself, but he ran out of money. He had it on the market. People were giving him stupidly low offers. So it was probably worth about 180,000 as it sat. But for somebody who was going to buy it, renovate it and sell it, it didn't make sense just because of obviously the stamp duty, raising that sort of money, putting the actual time into it, as in the first amount of solicitors like time and then the second. It just didn't make sense to buy it, renovate it and sell it. So he was stuck in limbo. So I went and spoke to him, went round to his house, and he'd done half the work. So it's in half decent condition, but it still needed quite
finishing
a bit.
off.
Yeah. So he wanted 180 for it. And people were giving him like, I think one person offered him 110.
Jesus.
Just like 140, 150. He was like, look, I cannot sell it for this much just because I'll have absolutely no money, from it. I'm in negative equity almost.
Yeah.
So he had £105,000 outstanding on the property, and he wanted some money himself. Obviously, he'd owned it for 15, 20 years. I think it was his first house in the UK. So I went around looking at it, about £14,000 refurbishment. I agreed.
Left to do.
Yeah, left to do, to get it into a sellable condition, a good condition. A lot of work out the back garden, finish decorating it, sort the kitchen, bathroom out, just a pretty standard refurb. I agree with him £177,500. So that's what he would get once the property sells. But I needed to refurbish it first and spend 14,000. So therefore I was in up to, 191,500?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah. And then I would take all the profit up to 202,500.
Okay.
So therefore, from my £14,000 investment, I would make £10,000 profit once the property sells.
Mm-hmm.
However, we did a 50-50 split after 202,500.
So if it exceeds what you probably expect.
That's what I thought it was going to sell for. Anyway, we sold it for 210,000. So therefore, added to my £11,000 profit, I think it is, there's 3,750 because we're splitting 7,500 in half.
Yep.
Add that, so that's over 100% return on investment from my input. So I input 14,000, and as a profit, I made 14,750. So that's obviously
double your money.
Yeah, double your money. So that's how powerful an assisted sale can be.
It really is powerful, but I feel like it's massively driven by the end value, which is a bit of a risk. Because if it gets undervalued for whatever reason by Rick's valuer, that can really squeeze your profits and turn into next to nothing.
That's it.
I feel like the hardest thing. I mean, I've tried to do assisted sales with some like ultra prime properties in London.
Mm-hmm.
These are going for $1 million plus.
Yeah.
Been on the market for months and months, and I've written letters, sent it to the owners and things like that, saying, look, propose the idea of an assisted sale. They don't want to hear anything about it. So I feel like the hardest thing is convincing or persuading the seller.
Yeah. Yeah. And it normally works being direct to vendor, as in obviously I met him at a BNI meeting. He'd had it up with previous estate agents, but I was speaking to him directly. So you need to really speak to them, explain it. Yeah. And he was really stuck in a pickle. Like, he had nowhere to go. He was living elsewhere. He was paying the mortgage, and he still is paying the mortgage. Obviously you can negotiate that when you're actually agreeing the initial heads of terms for an assisted sale. But he was stuck, as in he couldn't sell the property for like 140, or he could do, but he'd make hardly any money.
Yeah.
So he was getting fleeced, really.
So it worked still providing a solution to him.
That's it. And he got more than 180,000 in the end, because we've obviously given 3,750 on top of the 177,500. Gets a bit complex, but it is trying to compute it all, especially like just out loud. Well, yeah, it's really a really good way of making a high return on investment for your initial input. So it allows a lot more people who are getting into property investment. You don't need to raise all the finance. You don't need to, buy the house, wait 3 months, refurb it, then sell it. You can jump onto it instantly.
Again, the barrier to entry is significantly lower because it's just the refurb that you're paying for.
That's it.
Essentially, in broader context.
Yeah. There's one thing I'll mention on that is if you are thinking about doing an assisted sale, excuse me, you need to get a heads of terms document written up and sent to a solicitor, so then it protects yourself, and then she can either put a charge on the property in your name or put a restriction on the property when you're selling it with land registry.
So basically, the current seller cannot sell it without you.
Yeah, that's it. So the restriction is, that's like, if you're at 14,000, which is quite a bit of money, but it's not in terms of a refurb. So we was happy with just a restriction on the property, which means the seller can't sell it without my say so.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're doing a big refurb, say for example on one of these London ones, I don't know what it would be, but say if you're spending £50,000,
well over 100 grand.
That's what I mean. You really, really need some safety.
Yeah.
So you need to put a charge on the property. Even if there's a first charge on there, such as the mortgage, you can force a second charge onto it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, that means that whenever the property sells, you will get your money back.
This particular one, there was no mortgage left.
Was there not?
So you could easily do a first charge.
Yeah, that's it. A first charge has been spot on.
Yep.
When it sells, you'd be obviously the first person to get your money back.
Yep.
And the heads of terms document details all what you've agreed with the seller. So who'll be paying the mortgage, who's estate agent fees, solicitor fees, how much you're spending on the refurb. So let's say you're spending £40,000 on the refurb. You put a first charge on the property of at least £40,000, so you get at least all your money back for the time that you're putting into it. And then obviously once the property sells, you need to have a solicitor that understands what an assisted sale is, because 95% of them just won't have a clue.
Yeah, you put me in touch with a lady that knows this absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? Can't remember. Good podcasting.
That's all right.
So I've got a note here again. So in terms of you mentioned a development that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on what's next for you, what's in the pipeline, or what's the next year, or whatever look like for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the next year is obviously keep on growing the deal sourcing business. The assistant that I've got now, she's taking on, obviously she does all the social media. I want her to take on a bit more roles and responsibilities with regards to conveyancing, a lot more of the admin tasks. So therefore I can focus just on finding deals and investors. So to keep on growing that, keep on growing my own property portfolio, obviously, and try and find more projects and raise a bit more finance. That's only really come round over the past month or so, just because I've started getting a bit more access to better deals. Then there's also a barn development, which I'm looking at doing. It's like a 300-year-old barn. Built in 1722 it was, into a 7-bed, 7 ensuite. It was 6-bed, 6 ensuite initially, but we're going to go for 7. We might as well do with the planning. 7-bed, 7 ensuite.
As an HMO?
No, as a luxury stays serviced accommodation.
Right, okay.
For. The only problem
what
is...
What sort of condition is it in? I mean, barns conversions can be absolutely stunning.
Yeah, mate, it's a fucking nightmare, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, it's had half its work done in 1980 odd, which is when the initial planning went in. So if you look at it doesn't look like a barn. It's got like a big porch on the front. So people think it is a house, but it was initially a barn. It is called a farm. But it's had half the work done. But the problem is, people look at it and think, you just kind of sort it all out. But all the work that's been done is now fucked. So that needs to all be rectified. So you've got to take it apart to put it back together again. It'd be easier in some aspects to just build it from the ground up, but it's such a shame for the building itself because it's not listed, luckily.
But there's a lot to be said about original features and character and things like that, and you do want to keep as much of that as possible.
Exactly. Yeah, it's got like wonky walls.
If it's, put the beams everywhere.
Yeah.
Particularly if it's going to be like a luxury stay.
That's exactly it.
People
That's
like
exactly
that, the character feel to properties.
Mm-hmm. And it's just a bit difficult, obviously. The finance costs are so high. My focus at the minute is on the deal sourcing business and with these deals that I've now secured for myself. So it's like I can only just like focus on so many things at once. Don't want to spread myself too thin.
Yeah.
I think you can be a jack of all trades and a master of none if you spread yourself too thin across certain aspects. So I'm looking at doing it. I've secured it. It's just a case of getting everything in line. We need to go back to the planning, the council, I suppose, and get reapprove the planning. Need to have a Batten Owl survey done again, even though I've paid for it once. I'm like over 15 grand in fees so far just on that fucking thing, and I've not made a penny. Not even put an hammer to it. So it's like, it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's an exciting project.
Yeah,
I mean, something to look forward to on socials and things like that.
That's it. Yeah,
that's really exciting.
That's one thing. I'm obviously going to be plastering it all over my socials.
Yeah, definitely. That could be like your first sort of flagship project.
That's it, yeah. And I want to, obviously, I've set up this renovations company, which I'm looking at growing. That takes up quite a bit of my, even though it's not spare time, but evenings, weekends, work, even today, it's taken up quite a bit of my time.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to grow that. We're trying to bring on a few people there, a few joiners. We've got quite a bit of work coming up from our clients, as well as the projects I'm doing myself. So there's plenty in the pipeline, enough to take at least a couple of people on full time with us in the renovations company. And it would make sense for us as the actual renovations company to renovate the barn. And we can do it a lot cheaper as well instead of paying somebody else.
Cheap. Yeah, exactly.
It's just such a big project. Yeah. And I mean, I take risks, calculated ones.
Yep.
And I mean, we're certainly not in a position at the minute where we could renovate that ourselves. But I can't see why not in 12 months' time. We've got a few people working for us.
If you've got to get through planning anyway, it might be 12 months.
That's it. Because initially we went for planning for a 5-bed residential house, but then the figures just didn't really look that good. So we're now gone back for a 7-bed, 7 ensuite, luxury stays, serviced accommodation, which fingers crossed we'll get.
Is there much demand for SAs in this area? Where is it?
I mean, it's so hard to get the comparables. It's in Smithills in Bolton, which is like a country park. So getting a direct comparison is
tough,
few and far between. So that's one thing which I'm shitting myself a bit because it's like I could do fucking really well.
It's sort of the flip side of it. You could think because potentially no one else is doing it, you will be the only one. So you'll have a monopoly in that area. So if someone needs to stay, you got 7 bedrooms. Come on in.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. But it's a risk. Like I said, take calculated risk. But I just don't want to sell. At the minute, I'm seeing progress. And the last thing I want to do is tie myself up into a huge project and then it all unfold, basically.
This is maybe where you could raise a bit of
finance. That's it, yeah. And I think 12 months, I can certainly raise... At the minute, I'm looking at development finance to do the build, which again is fucking stupid money.
What, in terms of repayments?
Yeah, that's it, repayments. And again, if I've got more avenues with regards to income streams and I've got a lot of projects, let's say smaller projects on the go, making me money, then I've got a bit more buffer to actually put into that project, raise some more finance, do the actual build at a cheaper cost with my own renovations company, raise finance at a cheaper cost, then the figures look a lot better with it as well.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Okay. Just moving on to some bit of fun now.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a serious chat with you today, but some quick fire questions.
Oh, God.
All right?
Yeah.
Death row meal.
Death row meal. Fucking hell. Do you know what? I'm going to get absolutely blasted for this. But it's going to have to be... Do I just have to say the main meal? Yeah, it's going to have to be like a large Big Mac from Mackey's.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
With a double cheeseburger and a Diet Coke and plenty of barbecue sauce. That is... I don't know why. I don't know why. What you want. Yeah. It's just what I want. It's just easy to go down. I like it.
Well, it won't need to go down for too much longer, will it?
That's it. Well, I don't know.
That's what it's your death row meal.
Yeah.
You like, mate.
I've said that. Do you know, a couple of people have asked me that before. They're like, just like in passing my friends, it's like, what the fuck are you choosing that for? Just because I like it. Piss off. You know what I mean?
Each to their own, mate. That's it. Yeah. Something people outside of property don't know about you. Something that people don't know about you, which is not property related.
Yeah. So when I was growing up until the age of 16, and I've actually taken this up recently again, I played table tennis. Okay. So that was like my main sport up from being, 10, or maybe a bit later, 11 up until 16. And I was in the top 10 in Lancashire, under 18s when I was 16. Not a lot of people know that about me.
I know, what an achievement that is.
That is it. I actually got asked that once in a job interview. It was one of my first ever job interviews for Foot Asylum when I was 16 on a Christmas temp. It was like, tell us something unusual about yourself. So I've always just come out with that table tennis one.
You should just say UK champ. Something like that. Yeah.
No one's going to go and fucking look, are they?
No. If you could transport yourself anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
Anywhere in the world?
Might be your favourite holiday or somewhere you've never been before.
Yeah. I would probably go to, I think it's the wrong time of year, but I'd like to go to Australia and I'd like to teleport there. Yeah, can't be asked with a fucking flight as well. Yeah. So
whole day wasted.
That's what I mean. So just teleport myself there, especially because it's coming into their summer as well. So that's where I'd probably go. And I got some siblings out there, so it'd be mint. I've only been once when I was 8, so that's probably it. Yeah.
Great answer. Yeah. Favorite sport? Table tennis.
Sport. Table tennis. Yeah. Obviously, it's not on the mainstream TV, but I like football. But yeah, table tennis has got to be number one. But just because football's everywhere, I don't mind a bit of football.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're Manchester based.
So I support Bolton. Unfortunately, we're a fucking shit team. But we used to be in the Premier League.
Used to be,
Yeah, with Ricardo Gardner, JJ Okocha, all them boys.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're in like League One or something. So I follow them. But yeah, it's mainly when England are on. Loved it when the Euros were on.
Yeah.
It's a good excuse for a piss up, innit? Like.
It really is, yeah. It's dangerous.
It is.
Your most used emoji.
Can I check my phone?
Go for it.
Yeah. It's probably the aubergine. No, it's not.
Oh, really. Shut up.
Yeah. My most used emoji. It is the laughing face.
You're going to text me the aubergine.
It is the laughing face.
The laughing face.
Yeah, I don't actually use the aubergine, by the way. It's the laughing face. Because I'm laughing all the time. Even though when I put that in my text, I'm not really laughing.
No, it's just
it's
like that nasal out breath.
Yeah.
Hilarious, mate.
Oh, laughing at that. It's not that funny though.
Just switching it up again. Something a bit more deep. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I've ever received. Fucking hell. I think it's pretty common, but enjoy yourself. My dad always used to say to me, it doesn't matter, just enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is certainly simple, but it sticks with me. And as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, then you're on the right path, whether it's in property, something else, different as in business or not. And if you're enjoying it, then you're on the right path, whether you're making money or not. And I think a lot of people, especially with work, they don't enjoy it.
They lose sight of it.
They lose sight of it and they just kind of get stuck into this routine. They end up miserable. They don't like it. So as long as you're enjoying something, whether it's business or whether it's personal, stick with it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's simple, but it's powerful. I like that a lot.
Yeah. That's it. And I think my dad said it to me when I was younger. He says it to me all the time, even when I'm doing something. Just go and enjoy yourself.
Good lad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think we're just drawing to a close now, mate.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. We've dived into a lot there today. So thank you for coming on.
No problem.
Yeah.
I'll have to have me back on in 10 years to see them goals.
God, yeah. I wonder where we'll be in 10 years. Well, you certainly know roughly where you'll be. But yeah. All right. Thank you guys for watching and listening, whether you're on Spotify or YouTube. Rate 5 stars on Spotify. Subscribe on what's called YouTube. And remember, don't stress. Just invest. I'll do the rest. Cheers. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. That's a good slogan, that.
You like that?
I like that one.